This is Gemara in Kesubos Daf Samoch Dalit. All the learning for this month, the month of Elul, has been generously sponsored. That is an incredible zchut. Neshama of Reyzel Mair Mirta Hashem. Day by day, daf by daf, unlimited amounts of Torah shall be learned. As an incredible zchut, as Reyzel Mair should be oila, higher and higher and closer to the Kisei HaKavod in Gan Eden Shel Ma'ila. We pick it up on Samoch Dalit Amud Aleph for about 7 lines down. And the Gemara today begins with a statement of Amar Rav Tuvi Bar Kisna Amar Shmuel, very similar to that which we've been discussing, the halachas of mered, the halachas of someone who rebels, a husband or a wife, as we'll see, who is not listening and rebelling against their spouse. So today we begin with Rav Tuvi Bar Kisna Amar Shmuel that teaches us Kais v'nigar is mered aloha arusa. If we have a scenario of an arusa, we have a scenario of a woman who's engaged and she refuses to do a nisuin, we write a geres mered, we write this letter stating that she refuses ve'ein kaisi geres mered al shemeres yavam. But says the Gemara, we do not do the same against a shemeres yavam. Someone who's awaiting yibum, and of course the nafkamina, the reason that this is such a tremendous ramification is, like we saw yesterday, is that slowly the woman's ksuba is going to be decreased and detracted from due to her rebellious nature. So says the Gemara, for an arusa we do such, but not for a shemeres yavam. A woman that is awaiting yibum, if she refuses to do yibum, we do not write such a letter. Meisvei, so ask the Gemara, you just told me we don't write against the yavam. Achas the arusa nesu afilu nida afilu chayla afilu shemeres yavam. It says explicitly that even a shemeres yavam is included in these rules, that we would write against her if she rebels. Answers the Gemara, lo kasha kan shetavahu, kan shetavahi. There's a tremendous difference. Who is the one that is demanding the wedding? The Bryce is referring to where the Yavam says he would like to do Yibam, and the Yavama refuses. That's when we write Nigaris married, we write, and she would lose. Kan shetavahi, where Shmuel was talking about, excuse me, that's what we will not, that's what we will write, yes. Whereas Shmuel is referring to the case Shetavahi, where the Yavama wants the Yavam to do Yibam, and in such a scenario, the Yavam is one that refuses. That's when we do not write this Igaris married. And the Gemara proves this. If he is asking her to do Yibam and she refuses, yes, Niskakin Lo, yes, we'd write an Igaris married and detract from her. Tavahi ein Niskakin Lo. So ask the Gemara 1 second. But Mayu Kimta Lahad Shmuel b'Shetavahi. You're telling me that the case of Shmuel, the case that we're starting off with today, is a case in which she is the one being Taiveya. The Arusa is asking the Arus that she wants to do Yibam. But ask the Gemara, if that is true, Hai Kois v'nigaris merid al Arusa le Arusa mi ba'ilei. If that's what Shmuel indeed was referring to, if Shmuel was referring to a case that Shetavahi, she is the one that's waiting to do Yibam to get married and the husband is the one refusing, it should not have said Al Harusa. It should have said Le Harusa, that we're writing it to her. So answers the Gemara, no big deal. Alikasha Tanila Harusa. Indeed, and change the wording, that's what it should mean. So we continue now, we're 3 lines from the wide lines. And the Gemara asks on this, the Gemara just said that we're going to change the words of Shmuel, and therefore the halachas of Igaris Mered would indeed apply if someone refuses to marry his Arusa, but not if someone refuses to do Yibam. So ask the Gemara, I don't understand. Ma'ishana, what's the difference between the Arusa and the Yibam? Shemeres Yavam D'Layamin Zil, Zil. What's the reason why by Shemeres Yavam we do not force them to do Yibam? Because they're not commanded on Puravu. When it comes to the case of Arusa, because we say to her, you're not commanded, and therefore we can't force her. But ask the Gemara, Arusa nami la nima la zilla mifkada. It should be the same thing by an Arusa. Ella, says the Gemara, you're right, let's change Pshan in the first white line. Be'ba machmas taina darmina da'amra bi'ina. The case over here is that the woman comes and the woman says, you know what, I want to get married. It's true that I don't have this dinner of Puravu, but says the woman, you know, I want to get married to Be'ina because it is necessary, says this arusa, it is necessary that she wants to get supported. It's necessary that she's going to have, literally it means a shovel, so that she could have someone that's going to bury her. Asks the Gemara, so he's to say the same thing by Shemeres Yavam. What is going to be the difference? In the case of Shemeres Yavam, we should say that as well, we should not write. But then in the case of Shemeres Yavam, we do not write the Geras Meret. It also has to be done with a case where she comes with the same taina that she says, I want to be married, I want to have someone to bury me. So asks the Gemara, I don't understand. So why do we say that we do not write the Sigaris married? It sounds like she has a good taina. She has a good reason she wants to get married. So says the Gemara, no. But like, Ella Aidi Vaidi Shetavahu. Rather, both cases we're going back. Both the Bryce and Shmuel, most of them cases where she is the one that's demanding. Shetavahu, he, Shetavahu, again. He is demanding that she get married, either do Nesun or do Yibam V'loi Kasha. So what's the difference in Shmuel and the Braisa? Kan Lachloitz, Kan the Yabim. A fundamental difference in the case of the Braisa, we apply the halachas of Igeres Meret to one who's awaiting Yibam. Why? Because the Yavam says they want to do Chalitza. Whereas Kan the Yabim, whereas in Shmuel's din that we do not apply the halachas, is when he is asking her to do Yibam. Says the Gemara, as we've seen in the din of Rav Yechlan, that we do get involved to force someone to do Yibam, but not, to do Chalitza, but not to do Yibam. Says the Gemara, why? The fourth line, why do we not get involved when it comes to Yibam? So we tell them, what are you busy harassing this woman to do Yibam? Just go marry someone else. So ask the Gemara, so why are we forcing her to accept Chalitza? Just tell the man, go marry someone else. Why are you caring about Chalitza? Of course, the detail here being that a man could have two wives. It's the woman that can't, but if she's refusing, that's her fault. Ella says, the Gemara, you're right. Look, the case is in which the husband is saying, he's nervous because he's saying, everyone knows that I'm tied to this woman, they're not going to give me another wife. It's the same thing in the case of Yibam. Ella says, the Gemara, both cases in which they want to yes do Yibam v'lo kasha. This reminds us a very fundamental pretense of Yibam and Chalitza, which we've seen already in the Gemara in Yevamos. And the Gemara reminds us that Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, 8 lines from the bottom. First one line is Ditanan, mitzvahs Yibam go down to mitzvah Chalitza. Yibam comes before Chalitza. Originally, when they did Yibam, they had Kavana, they had the mindset for the mitzvah, they want to be him. Moikin the Shem Achav, they want to establish the name of the brother. But but nowadays that people do not have the right intentions, then we do indeed say that Chalitza comes first. Continues the Gemara by quoting the end of the Mishnah that says, until when do you detract, do you deduct on the Kesuba? And similarly, when the husband rebels, we had it make him add on to the Kesuba. So says the Gemara, my tarpakin. What is a tarpakin? We had a machlokes. Rav Yehuda said you add on 3 tarpakiks, whereas Tanakama said 3 dinars. So says the Gemara, what are tarpakin? Amar Rav Shishas astira. You know it's referring to an astira. How much of a kama astira? How much is that? Paul God is zuzot. Half a zuz, half a dinner. Tanamiyach Rav Yehuda mer shlosh tarpakin shein teisha mein ma v'chatzi l'chol yoim. Amar Rav Chebar Yosef l'shom ma'ishla iho devin lo b'shavs devin lo devin lo b'shavs. As the Gemara, fundamental shayla, when it comes to him adding on to the Kesuba, we said it's 3 tarbakin, and that's including 6 days of the week, Sunday through Friday. So ask the Gemara, why when it comes to her do we deduct each and every day? So explains the Gemara an incredible yesod in the last line of Samot Aleph. Her Kesuba, is she actually taking out anything to pay? No. She's deducting from that which she is owed, and therefore says the Gemara, it appears like Schar Shabbos. When it comes to him, which he's actually positively adding on to the Kesuba, Mechzik Yishar Shabbos, it looks like Schar Shabbos looks like someone's getting paid for working on Shabbos, of course, which is not allowed. So Amar Lei the Rav Chibar Yosef the Shalom Mabin Meir the Meir. What's the difference? Amar Lei Seil the Man Mishik Shal Zaynais Mi Sacher Es Mi. Who hires whom? Says the Gemara, no difference is the husband eats ours mi bachos, so one could see if he's excited and if he's feeling deprived of a wife of relations, whereas the woman is not that case. And we will continue with the Mishnah. The Mishnah continuing with the halachas of that which a husband has to give to his wife. We started off a few days ago of the general ksuba obligation, husband to wife and wife to husband, each thing what it corresponds to. We segued into the halachas if a woman or a husband rebels, and now we come back around. And we continue with the Mishnah. The Mishnah teaches us Hamasher es isha edi shlish. If someone provides for his wife via a shlish, via a third party. Now, what's the reason that he's providing for his wife via a third party? Rashi here explains that the case that we're discussing is that the wife and husband are not living together, not eating together. Rather, she is living on her own, and her husband is providing for her. So says the Mishnah, what does he have to give his wife? He's not allowed to give her less than 2 kav of wheat and 4 kav of barley. Amrav Yosi. The only person who gave sa'irin, they gave barley, is Rabbi Yishmael, who is near Edom. Exactly what that means, we will see in Mir Tashem in the Gemara. And the Mishnah continues, what does the husband have to give his wife? He gives her half a kav being a measurement of kidneys of beans, and a half a lug of oil, v'kav gregers, and a kav worth of dried figs, mana dvela, or a mana of pressed figs, v'meinlai. And if the husband does not have, then a paisik lumas and peiros makam acher. Then instead of giving these dried or pressed figs, he gives her fruits from another place. So that's the first list of items that the husband has to supply to his wife in an event that they're not together. The husband has to give his wife all these items that she can survive. Continues the Mishnah. What are the other items that the husband has to give his wife? He gives her a bed, a mat, and a hard mat. And he gives her a kerchief, a hat for her head. And he gives her, literally refers to a belt which sometimes those who are learning the Yerushim Mishnah, we have that chagar means pants. Here it's referring to a belt. And he gives her shoes from every yantif to yantif, which Rashi explains that Mayil Lamayid is not only by the shoes, but even as well the kerchief and the belt as well. Continues the Mishnah on the first white line, and yearly has to give her clothing worth 50 zuz. And he does not give her new clothing in the summer, nor worn out clothing in the winter. The reason being, new clothing was thicker, and therefore thicker clothing he supplies his wife in the winter, and then she wears that clothing when it's worn out in the summer. And that's when she gets the new clothing. And when they're worn out, that's what she uses in the winter. And she's allowed to keep the worn out clothing. Continues the Mishnah on the fourth line, as we've seen this already, that he gives her a and a measurement of kesef, some small cash, for whatever small needs that she has. And he has to eat with her every week on Friday nights. And if he doesn't give her this pocket change, we'll call it, then whatever she makes, her earnings, she keeps. Now that question is the flip side. What are the items that she has to make and she has to supply back to him? She has to give him 5 slayim worth of warp thread in Yehuda, which is Shein Eser Slayim Begalil, worth 10 slayim in Galil. Oy Mishkal Eser Slayim Erev Yehuda, or the weight of 10 slayim of Arev type of thread, which is the weft of thread in Yehuda, Shein Eser Slayim Begalil, which is 20 slayim in Galil. And the Mishnah continues in Maisa Menika. Let's say she's nursing a child, then she doesn't have to give him as much earnings because she doesn't make as much money while she's busy nursing and utilizing energy to nurse the baby. But he has to give her more food so that she has the strength to nurse the child. Says the Mishnah that all these items are for an ani, a poor person. But if the husband is a mechubad, if the husband is wealthy, everything goes according to his wealth. That is how much he has to supply for his wife. So says the Gemara, who is the Tana of the Mishnah? The first part of the Mishnah said that how much wheat does he have to give his wife? 2 kav. So says the Gemara, money masnis, and who is this Tana? Lo Rav Yochanan ben Breika v'lo Rav Shimon. It's neither Rav Yochanan ben Breika nor Rav Shimon, as the Gemara now is going to explain. Titanan, as we learned in the Mishnah. V'kama shiurei mazin shtei sudas l'chol echad ve'echad. And what is the shear? What is the measurement of an erev techumen? Mazin shtei sudas, the food for 2 meals, l'chol echad ve'echad, for each and every person who wants to use the erev. So the erev techumen is 2 meals per person. Mezayne l'chol, referring to food for 2 weekday meals. V'loy b'Shabbos, not Shabbos meals. Divir Meir. Rav Yehuda Imer l'Shabbos lo l'chol. No, it refers to Shabbos meals and not weekday meals. V'zeh explains the Gemara, Miskam and Lahakal, both of them are being more lenient, whether it's because on Shabbos you eat more food, and therefore it's less, or there are more meals, and therefore each meal is less, or whether it's because during the Shabbos you have more chashuv of food, so during the week is less. Continues the Brisa, the Mishnah, we're going to be says Yochanan ben Breika, how much bread you have to use for the Erev Tavshilin is the amount of, the Erev Techumen, as we said, is the amount of bread for a loaf of bread that is a podyon when 4 sav grain are isel. I'm just going to introduce this concept that we're about to see lots of different numbers and measurements. Let's try to understand them to the best of our ability. Says the Gemara, Rav Shimon argues on Rav Yochanan ben Breika, and he says, you know how much bread you need for the Erev Techumim? 2 parts of a loaf, 2/3 of a loaf, when there are 3 to a kav, chetzia. Now that is the machlekes of Yochanan ben Breika and Rav Shimon as to the quantity of bread that is necessary for the Erev Techumim. Now, once we mention this machlekes, the Gemara comments that this same machlekes Rav Shimon and Rav Yochanan ben Breika is applicable to chetzia lebeis hamenuga. Each opinion, according to their amount, half of that loaf of bread is the amount that one's clothing could become contaminated, can become full of tuma when one comes into a house that is full of tzaras. And a quarter of that amount is lipsalas akviyah, is the quantity of the body, is the quantity of tamei food to make the body tamei. Meaning, if one consumes a quarter of that loaf of bread, he becomes tamei. And 1/8 of that amount is the kabel tumas eichlin, is the smallest amount of food that it itself could become tamei. So 1/8 of this loaf of bread, the food becomes tamei. A quarter of the loaf of bread that is consumed by a person, he becomes tamei. And 1/2 of the loaf of bread is the amount that the house has tumah to make the clothing tamei. So that is the Mishnah. Now, exactly the numbers we're going to leave out right now. Everyone can see Rashi over here. Rashi goes through the calculations, but explains the Gemara. Samani, who is our Mishnah? Rav Yochanan ben Breika, Tamni Avon, explains the Gemara that if it's Yochanan ben Breika, then 2 meal erev techumim is a half of kav. Then when you have 2 kav, like the Mishnah said 2 kav of wheat. 2 kav of wheat is enough for 8 meals. And how many meals does a woman need? She needs 14 meals. 2 meals per day. 2 times 7 is 14 meals. And 2 kav of wheat, like the Mishnah said, the husband is giving to her, according to the measurement of Rav Yochanan ben Breika, is only going to give 8 meals. Rav Shimon, and according to Rav Shimon, then how many meals is it going to give her? 18 meals. That's too many meals. So who is the man Amar that holds that you're going to give that you're going to give a half a kav? That you're going to give 2 kav of wheat, and that will be enough to give her the 14 requisite meals during the week. So explains the Gemara, it's going to be Rav Yochanan ben Breika, like Rav Chisda himself explained, that what? That we have to deduct 1/3. So again, according to Rav Yochanan ben Breika, we said we only have 8 meals. Says the Gemara, no. Add on 1/3 of those meals, that which the Chanvini takes. And on 1/3. So says the Gemara, wait, 1/3 of 8, akarti tarti sreyavan, is only 12. If you take 12 meals, 1/3 of the 12 is 4. The 8 plus 4 is going to be the 12 meals. Again, it's an interesting way of calculating 1/3. It's not 1/3 of 8. It's a third of the total number, and that number is going to equal to 8. So when I have 8, and now the number is 12, a third of 12 is 4, which now gives us the 8. Says the Gemara, but that's only 12, and we need 14 meals. Says the Gemara, no, because they eat together on Leil Shabbos, and therefore she doesn't need a meal for that night. Says the Gemara, one second. If you hold that, it means that they actually eat together, I understand. That says that what does it mean eat together? It means they sleep together. Michael and Maymar. Still, we only have 12 meals. We're missing 2 meals. And furthermore, even according to Mandamar, that says it means they sleep together. So that meal is deducted. Still, it's only 13 meals, and she's missing a meal because she needs 2 meals a day. So says the Gemara, you're right. Take off half for a man, and therefore that's what we're going to have. The 16 meals, half of the 16 is going to be 8, and that is going to be the meals that she is going to need. Says the Gemara, Kasha de Rav Chisda. We have a stira in Rav Chisda. Is it a third or is it a half that you give to the Chanvini? Says the Gemara, Lo Kasha Abasa do you have Sivi, Abasa do you have Sivi. Depends where the shopkeeper himself gives the wood to bake the bread. Says the Gemara, now the Kasha that everyone's been bothering about. I said it's 16 as if that makes sense. But says the Gemara, it's 16 and she only needs 14 meals. What's 16? Explains the Gemara, Keman ki Rav Chitka. No, we need an extra because of Rav Chitka. Damar Arba Sudas Chayv Anu Lechel B'Shabbos. The Gemara is assuming this means all Shabbos day. So the 6 days of the week is 12 meals plus 4 meals of Shabbos according to Rav Chitka equals the 16 meals. Answers the Gemara further. Really, Afilu Tema Rabbanan. And we even say it's a sheet of the Rabbanan that says you only have 3 meals in Shabbos. You have to have 1 extra meal. We said that we're missing 1 meal. You know what that meal is? The guest, the long-term guest, the short-term guest, even though the woman herself only needs 15 meals a week. Why is her husband giving her 16 meals? The 16th meal is for any of the guests that come. So says the Gemara, once you're saying that, even go with the opinion of Rav Shimon, the Rabbanan dal talas l'archi uparchi, Rav Chitka dal tarti l'archi uparchi. And we're just going to have this discussion, how many meals extra she's getting for the guests, whether it's going to be 3, whether it's going to be 2. And that's how we're going to explain the Mishnah. When the Mishnah says to give her 2 kav of wheat a week, it could fit either according to Rav Shimon or according to Rav Yechim and Braika. We'll pick it up from Rav Yesi in the next year.